So hey again everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So this is the third installment of my initial reactions to Luminar with libraries, and I really appreciate you stopping by and hanging out for a little bit. This video is going to go a little long again, just like the last one and the first one as well, because I'm just talking this through. So when you get a new piece of software, there are always tutorials out there on YouTube and on the manufacturer's websites, but the way I'm doing this video series, I'm just walking through it because we all upload, we all install new software and we start playing around with it. So that's what I've been trying to do with this series, just to give you a gut feel of how Luminar with libraries is now working. In the last video, we talked about the libraries themselves, and in my opinion, the additions are not substantial enough to warrant me switching from Lightroom to Luminar yet for managing my images. I do think that at some point in the near future, that might change. That Luminar and Skylum, they're on the way, they're on the right track. They've got a couple more things to get done first. So this is almost a finished product. Now, when it comes to editing images, Luminar is great, and you can really do some amazing stuff, and we're going to play with an image or two here. Luminar has also missed it on one other part that I need to show you. The reason I found out about Luminar and Skylum in the first place was Aurora HDR. I've been doing HDR for years, and I enjoy doing HDR photography. And I'll say that a lot more people are now doing HDR photography. They're doing bracketing of their images, and then they're dealing with HDR afterward. So Luminar, being an application developed by Skylum, who also developed Aurora HDR, you would think would have a great tie-in, especially with their new version. That's not the case. So let's take a look at this. I imported some photos in our last episode, and in this episode, let's just take a look. So we've got clearly an underexposure, and now I'm arrowing down, and there's my overexposure, and there's my proper exposure. So this is done with a Sony, so my little Sony that I use for video recordings as well and vlogging. I'm going to look at the next photo, and so we've got an underexposure. Looks like a proper exposure, and absolutely an overexposure. So that's definitely a set of bracketed images. So I'm just holding down my Shift key, and I've just highlighted these three images because I want to send them to Aurora HDR, and I want to make an HDR image. So I'm going to right click here, and I'm going down. Let's see, we've got open in Aurora HDR. We've got share. We've got an export. So it looks to me like, do we have anything else? Nope. So I'm going to go ahead and say, maybe we should use open with Aurora HDR, but let's go up really quick. Oh, I unselected those, so I want to make sure they're selected. Let's go up to File and share and open in. So it looks to me like if we would like to make an HDR with Aurora HDR, we're going to do this open in, and we're going to click on it. And here we go. I'm getting the export window. So it says it's exporting, and I'm waiting for it. I'm being patient, I promise. But that export is taking a moment, isn't it? So there it goes, exporting one of three. Ooh, and here comes Aurora HDR 2019. And it's showing me that I've got, this is my underexposed image from the series, EV negative 2.0. But it's not bringing in all three images. I'm going to hit cancel on this. And what's going to be interesting is it's going to pop up. Oh, there we go. So there's the overexposed version. And it is not importing all three together and assembling all three as a three bracketed HDR. So at the moment, when I bring in my auto bracketed images with the intention of doing HDR images, Luminar is supposed to be my management platform here now with the Luminar with libraries, right? And it's not doing it. So I'm going to close Aurora HDR 2019. And, maybe this was a fluke. Maybe I'm messing something up terribly. Let's go down here, take a look at that one, underexposed. So an underexposed, properly exposed, overexposed. That's definitely a set of three. I'm going to hit the G key and I'm going to go back to the grid view again. And let's see, is there any other way to do this? So catalog, nope, no. Export, how about an export? Nope. So I can't export to Aurora HDR. Let's triple check. So that share, the open in Aurora HDR. All right, there we go. Batch processing is definitely not it. And so no, no, no. Drag images or folders here. Well, I can't even do that. I'm going to close out of that because that is definitely not it. Let's look through. Are there any other tools? Go to images from the same date. Nope, nope. So let me see. Aurora. So we can do open with Aurora, or we got a plugins here. Okay, so let's go over to edit and let's check that out. Plugin, Aurora HDR. Let's click it and let's see what happens. I clicked it, right? Let me see, is Aurora opening up? Nope. Oh, there's my little pinwheel of death. Okay. Still nothing happening. By the way, so I'm bringing you through this whole thing, play by play. The reason why I'm bringing you through this whole thing is because I want you to see, you know, as a first-time user, what your experience is going to be. So far, okay, it's only opening up a single one again. So there is no bulk edit here. So in Lightroom, right-clicking on this, I would go down to an export, and one of my export options would be to export to Aurora HDR. It would put all three of them together or all five of them together, depending on your bracket. It would allow you into Aurora HDR. And after it allows you into Aurora HDR and you make your changes and you go ahead and commit those changes, it brings the new full HDR image back into Lightroom. This should be working on Luminar. And if I'm wrong, and if you find out a way to do this, please leave me a comment on the comments below, because I really, really want to be wrong. So for a minute more, we still have these three up. And let's just go back here. So we've got it in plugins, and we've got it in our open in, and we've already experienced both of them. So let's go to that edit again. Both of them are not bringing them into Aurora as a group that's supposed to be in HDR. Not happening at all. So that's a little disappointing, especially since Skylum manufactures both of these things. This should work right off the bat, and it shouldn't be doing one at a time like it's doing. So there we go again. Just an absolute problem there. All right, I'm going to deselect these images, and we're going to get off this one now. So one of the big things for me, though, since I do a good bit of HDR, sometimes some very mild HDRs for real estate stuff, this is not okay. I'm not going to manage these images. And as we scroll down, you're going to see, oh yeah, that's right. You know, this was not for my client. This was for myself and my own reference for the work that we were doing on this particular property, doing some drone work and stuff. But, you know, if I'd like to make HDRs out of any of these, and I can't right now, you know, with a 3 bracket exposure, this is not okay. And, I'm gonna need to continue managing with Lightroom for the moment. That's all there is to it. Okay, let's scroll back up here. Now let's talk about some positives. So Luminar is a really good photo editor. The filters that they offer, the tools they offer, the masking, the layers, they've really come a long way, especially for the price. So this is a reasonably priced package. It's not an ongoing cloud-based month-to-month thing. So you purchase it, you get the license to it. So that is a very big positive in my mind. And I'm just scrolling down here, and let's take a look at one of these images. So I think this is my properly exposed, overexposed. Yep, so there we go. Really dark. All right, so let's go back. All right, this one seems to be our properly exposed one, and it actually distorted the lens a little bit there for me. And up in the upper right, so we've been looking at library. We've also got edit, so we can actually get into the Luminar editor very quickly, very easily. And we've got a lot of options here, so we can make workspaces. And if you're familiar with Luminar, you're familiar with the workspaces. before I go any further, I just want to go over to info. So right now, there's an info pane here as well. So it tells me, you know, I've got this raw file. It's from my Sony.arw, and it tells me right below here that it's a Sony 5100. And it also gives me information about the shot, ISO 100, f5.6, 1/800th of a second. Now, in Lightroom, we can actually sort and filter by our camera type, by our lens type, etc., etc., etc. Right now, in the library, we cannot do that. So once again, not being a complainer, I'm just putting it out there so that you're aware of what is happening. And look at that, it jumped me down to a different image. I'm going to hit the G key to go back to that grid view again. And I think that this will be the image we play with. So let's go over to that edit window and let's take a look around Luminar again. So we can look through our folders up here with all their automated tools. So let's just look at the tools here. So we can do imports or we can add folders. We can arrow up through our folders. We can also get rid of the film strip, the side panel. We can turn on our presets down below. See the presets that just popped up? Pretty cool. We can change our zoom level on this. So fit to screen. We can zoom in and out. We can look at the changes. So it automatically did a little bit of lens correction for me. I appreciate that. Our before and after, we haven't done anything to it yet, so nothing's going to be going on there. Tools, we can do a crop, we can do a free transform, we can do a clone stamp, and we can erase things. Kind of cool. So let's try that eraser tool before we go nuts and start doing some major edits. But so it's telling me it's preparing, and maybe I just really hate this rock. I'm anti-rocks, and that particular rock is offending me. So I'm going to say done to that, and it's going to take that rock out for me. So now we're just waiting to get back into that develop module, the edit module. And there it goes. All right, goodbye to the rock. And that was a pretty good blend there. That looks good to me. So we got rid of the rock. Let's go into our edit window here and let's take a look at what's going on. So let's do the professional. And there we go. So now we are in the professional workspace. We've got a lot of tools in here. You could go to a blank workspace and just add filters as you go along. So let's have a little fun with editing. I don't think this particular image needs a lot of editing, but let's check out some of those AI filters that Skylum has been hyping about so much. So we've got the accent AI filter and we've got that AI sky enhancer as well. So I'm popping that one in there. So here's the two filters I'm using right now. I have not done anything with them yet. And I'm just going to do this AI sky enhancer. I'm going to do it to 50%. So did you see that change? If you didn't see that change, we can go up to the before and after viewer. So it's definitely richened the sky up, and it seems to have avoided hitting much else. Looks like it was even kind to the water in the front. Oh, and then there's our before and after with the rock right there. See that little crazy rock right there? So it's retaining that removal of the rock. I'm going to turn the before and after viewer off. And let's go down and check out that accent. So what's going on with that accent AI filter? A smart enhancement with the help of artificial intelligence. This filter automatically analyzes your image and makes necessary adjustments to bring naturally beautiful results. All right. Well, if that isn't a marketing promo, I don't know what is. All right, let's boost this up to about 50 here. And I saw the changes. So the water's changed a little bit, foreground's changed a little bit, and we can actually turn that on and off. So it did bring a little more light into the foreground, added a little more punch to the water for sure. And yeah, so this is not a bad looking image to me. We can turn it completely off. So now we see the distortion of the lens. So there we go. All right. I'm liking the results of this image a lot more. There are a ton of sliders in here. By the way, just so you know, if you are new to Luminar, whenever you do something with one of your filters, the filter will be labeled in yellow to tell you that you had done something with it. I'm going to add the foliage enhancer here as well. So looking at this image, we see that I used the accent AI filter. We see that I used the AI sky enhancer. Then we look at the foliage enhancer and we say, oh, well, Rich didn't use that yet because it's not yellow. Well, let's just throw that to 50 too. So we're getting nuts here. Everything's going to 50. And it definitely punched up the greens out here in the middle ground. For sure, those greens are definitely more vibrant. Over on the right-hand side of the foliage enhancer, I can turn that off, and I can turn that back on. Now, I happen to live in Arizona, and this is an Arizona scene, and you're not going to see greens like this at that Goldwater Lake at any time. So maybe let's dial that back to like 20. That's looking much more realistic. Let's grab our before and after viewer again just to see. So once again, some lens correction went on, and we did the sky enhancer, we did the accent AI filter. I just had to take a look over that, and we used the foliage enhancer, and I'm satisfied enough with this image, so I'm gonna turn that before and after. And once again, you can use a ton of filters in here, and you've got to experiment with the filters. One of the things that they have added is fixing for the lens distortion, so we saw that. Now, this is not a full tutorial on Luminar. This is me reviewing through with you. So Luminar with libraries is really new. It's just hit the market recently, and people are still learning about it. But I wanted to give you the bird's eye view with these last 3 videos of what's here and what's not here. So I really think this is a powerful editor, and you can have a lot of fun with it. You can do multiple layers, you can do masking, all positive stuff. In the end, you know, this is still not quite complete. This is a very well completed photo editor, without a doubt. I really find that the photo editor here is powerful and easy to use, and you don't have to be a professional photographer or a Photoshop expert to really get something out of Luminar, so that's great. The 2 issues that I've personally found in testing this and trying this out: number 1, Luminar should absolutely be able to export a block of bracketed images to Aurora HDR. I've said this before in the video on this one or on the other one. Leave a comment down below if you found the way. But the fact that I cannot seem to find in my testing so far a way to export a block of bracketed photos to Aurora HDR and have Aurora assemble all of them to make an HDR and then bring back into Luminar, not cool at all. The second part that I feel is not powerful enough here yet is the library features and the searching and sorting features. They should have that by July if you're going along with their roadmap. So there you go. I think it's a very powerful editor, so there's the positive. So I'm not going to stop using Luminar. What I'm saying through this entire series is that for the time being, I still have to use Lightroom for my photo management. No 2 ways about it. It's still the better photo manager, and it's going to remain the better photo manager until they get keywords in here and searching on metadata, searching on lenses, etc., etc. I am not willing to go through a giant library and hunt for things by date and hunt for things based on starred, flagged. In Lightroom, I can do multiple filters, and I can also do smart collections where I say, I only want TIFFs. I only want TIFFs that were made on this date to this date. I only want TIFFs that were made on this date to this date and have the keywords Samantha and Robbie's wedding, etc., etc. So that really streamlines my workflow process and makes it really easy to deal with a catalog of thousands of photos. Right now, as the library stands today, if I were to upload thousands and thousands of photos from the jobs that I do, I'd be spending way too much time trying to figure out ways to streamline the process and speed it up. So there's my 2 strikes are on the export to Aurora HDR and the fact that the library isn't all the way there yet. I still think this is an incredibly powerful editor, which is why I use it often from Lightroom. And in Lightroom, I have plugins for both Luminar and Aurora HDR. And that workflow works fantastic. Sometimes Luminar gets a little slow and might even crash when I launch it from Lightroom. And I'm not using an old machine. This is a very new 2017 iMac 21 inch. And, you know, that shouldn't be crashing. It should be stable. And sometimes it'll crash and I just relaunch from Lightroom again and then it's fine. But that slows me down sometimes too. And I'm all about a very quick, very streamlined workflow. And if you don't believe me, you can check in the card up above, the little teaser card. I do have a class on my Lightroom workflow, and that's available on udemy.com. You're welcome to check it out. And when this library module gets to where I think it's really good and it's a challenger and competitor for Lightroom, I'll be making a class on that as well, I promise you. So in the end, decent editing program. It has been for quite a while. Very excited to see the libraries, and they're getting down the road. So fantastic. So if we can get some more enhancements to the libraries over the next couple of months and fix that issue where we don't seem to be able to export properly to Aurora HDR, I will highly recommend this. So if you're looking for a cool editor and you're not so worried about some of these features, this might be for you, and I do like the single license pricing. I want to like this more. I really, really want to like this more. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure that you give a like and subscribe. And as new things come out for Luminar and Skylum and Aurora HDR, I'll be talking about them here. And for drone photographers, there's a lot of opportunity with this editor and a lot of opportunity with the Aurora HDR editor. The big thing for all of us, I know for a lot of drone photographers, you're shooting bracketed and that you do a lot of HDR work as well. I've seen it across the board on so many channels. And so wouldn't it be great to be able to stack the photos, have some more searching possibilities, and also have the possibilities to launch that Aurora. All right, everyone. Sorry these went so long, but I just really wanted to go through. I didn't want to have this slick presentation. I really wanted this to be realistic, a conversation with us, and us playing around and exploring Luminar together. And I think we've achieved that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give it a like, and be sure to tune back in as the new updates come out. I will be talking about them, and we'll use some more cool photos, and maybe we'll have a really cool library that gives us all of our features, and we can walk through that and see all the different ways that that we can filter and sort and find our photos really fast. So they're getting there. Good effort, Skylum. I can't wait to see what you come up with next, and I can't wait for the improvements.